Thank you very much for joining us on PM Express. We are 18 days to the elections and we are counting down. The Electoral Commission is getting ready, but are they ready? They should be. I mean, and where are they in making sure that this year's election even beats their own record when it comes to the 2020 elections? I have the man for this conversation, and I know there are many questions that you are still asking as we approach December 7th. Dr. Bossman Asare is a Deputy Commissioner here at the Electoral Commission, and he is my guest on PM Express tonight. Doc, thank you very much for your time here on PM Express.
My pleasure.
Are you ready?
Yeah, we are ready. And I wouldn't only say we are ready, we are fully ready.
Fully
ready.
That's some statement with 18 days to go.
Yes, because as we speak now, a number of the things that must be done, we are pretty much ahead of schedule. So we are fully persuaded that come December 2nd for the special voting and December 7th for the main elections in terms of presidential, parliamentary, we are fully ready, and I believe that the good people of this country are also very, very much ready for the elections.
You must have a checklist of things that you take off once you sort of meet the milestone before elections. What makes you say you're fully ready? I mean, what are the key indicators that is influencing that very bold declaration?
No, in terms of, let me look at it from the ballot papers for the elections. As we speak now, a chunk of them, almost over 50% of them have gotten to the regional capitals in the police, regional police armories. Apart from that, training of officials, which is very, very critical, has also started. We've done the national level. We are about to take off with the regional level. And apart from the regional, then we move on to the constituency level. And for all this, we have a clear plan in place. So on the basis of that, I can conveniently say that we are fully ready.
Okay, fully ready as in if the elections were next week?
Well, if elections were next, we will still be able to do it. The reason why we'll still be able to do it is that with the exception of the AHAFO and voter reasons, which we announced last week, that because of certain issues we've identified with the serial numbers, we're going to have them printed again in another printing house. Apart from that, and you know, those who are printing too, we have strong evidence that this week they should be able to finish for us to transport them to the various regions.
Talking about the transfers of I know the ballots have been dispatched. It started last week, in fact. You are transporting, from what I understand, the parliamentary ballots for now.
Not only parliamentary,
but presidential too.
For a number of the regions that have seen their ballots being transferred, that you've heard of, a chunk of them went with the presidential.
But not all went with the
presidential. Don't forget that not all, but almost about 80% of them, both the parliamentary and the presidential, are in the regional
Doesn't mean that in
capitals.
some cases the presidential ballot papers aren't ready, and that's why they had not gone.
You know, when unfortunately, when the flag bearer of the Ghana Freedom Party passed on to glory, we had printed over 90% of the presidential ballots. So as soon as that embargo was lifted, a number of them were able to finish even in that same week. And those who have not finished, as we speak now, the actual printing has completed, but what is being done has to do with the checking of the ballots. So in effect, over 90% of them have completed the work.
Okay, you touched on the banning of the ballot papers on the back of the serialization challenge that you discovered with the ballot papers for AHAFO and the Volta region. What's the update on the banning of those papers? You banned the plate already over the weekend. What's the update on the banning of the ballot papers itself?
The commission will write to the political parties and inform them of the exact date we are going to ban the actual ballot papers. And usually when we write to the political parties, we also write a separate letter to the Ghana Police Service, another one to other security agencies such as the National Intelligence Bureau, as well as the particular printing house, to ensure that all of them will be present during the distraction. And when we finish banning them, we have what we call the distraction certificate, which all the parties are going to sign off to indicate that indeed they were there when the ballots were bent.
Who is going to bear the cost of this error?
I think this is something the commission will discuss with the printing house. But the commission on that, the commission didn't think so much in terms of the cost as to the quality of the country's election. Don't forget that we had these two important regions, Volta region, Ahafo region, very, very significant because we are only talking of 16 regions in our country. And the commission noticed that the serial numbers were not being properly done the way we would have expected. And the commission met the parties and informed them that for the purpose of ensuring ballot integrity, it will be better for us to have another printing house or two other printing houses printing the ballots for the Ahafo and the Volta region. So we have not been thinking in terms of cost. We are more interested in the quality of the ballot papers because ballot integrity is very, very important. If you don't get the serial numbers right and somebody votes for a candidate and the serial number is not there or there are issues with it, some people would deem that to be a rejected ballot. So the commission was not thinking so much in terms of cost. But as far as the cost is concerned, we will definitely engage the printing house to discuss it with them.
Because in every contract, the vendor bear responsibility. You've given them your specifications. The serialization errors was done by them. It's expected, is it not, that they will bear the cost of that? It's their mistake after all.
No, it's the reason why I said the commission will engage them. These are people who have been working for us for many, many years. I believe they started working for the commission in 1998. They've been printing ballots since all these years. In 2020, they printed ballots. In 2023, they did. 2019, they did. So we've been working with them for many, many years. So that's not an issue the commission is so much concerned, let alone be worried about. We are going to be engaging them on it. Mm.
Are they still printing, or this job is going to another printing house?
We've given this job to other printing houses.
You've taken the job from them?
We've taken the job from them. We gave the Volta region to the Arts Commercials Limited, and we give the Ahafo region to Bok Press Limited.
Okay, and they haven't challenged this?
No, there are no challenges being reported so far.
As in the printing house, that you've taken the job from them?
Oh, no, I think, you
took the job from them because
one thing which
you're unhappy with the work they've done?
Yeah, we made it very clear to them. And I think one thing which is very important is that the credibility of the elections, the quality of the elections, the transparency, all these processes, I would say they trump the cost argument as far as the Electoral Commission is concerned. We believe that we have a strong reputation to protect. We have always maintained that when it comes to the business of quality elections, we are one of the best in the continent. Mm. So if you are the best, there are certain reasons why we are the best in terms of the quality of our ballots, very, very important. The way we are inclusive, we work with the political parties to ensure. And it will interest you to know that when we met with the parties and we informed them that our officials on the ground identify certain issues with the serial numbers. We thought they could salvage it, they did their best, but we still noticed that there were still some gaps. And to promote and to ensure ballot integrity, the commission took the decision to take the work away from them. So for us, ensuring the integrity of the process, for all the players, all the political parties to be happy with the process is more important to us than the cost argument. And in terms of the cost, it's something we will engage the printing house about.
But for the taxpayer, you can assure them that they shouldn't worry about bearing that cost because you have that conversation and exact it from the printing house in question.
That's why I made the point that from the perspective of the commission, we are not thinking in terms of cost.
Yeah.
And we believe that the taxpayer will be more concerned about us having
the integrity of the
polls rather than assuming commission had to pay for this particular one. Because inaction on the part of the commission on this particular issue would have been more devastating. Just imagine people have gone to the over 18 constituencies in the Volta region, 6 constituencies in the Ahafo region. So when you put together 12 in Ahafo region for presidential, 6 for presidential, 6 for parliamentary, Volta region 18 for presidential, 18 for parliamentary, then suddenly people are saying there are problems with the ballot papers. That will certainly not bode well for the Electoral Commission.
Disqualifying a lot of the ballots.
Yeah. So I think that for the taxpayer, they will be more concerned about us having a system that is very, very peaceful, that is very, very credible, that is very, very transparent, a system where all the main players, all the stakeholders, even including those who are not candidates, are very, very much satisfied with.
You made a bold claim that the Electoral Commission is one-off if not the best on the continent. What's the evidence?
Oh, no, the evidence is very clear. You know, we have researchers who do work on elections, and one of them has to do with the Electoral Integrity Project, which globally the most recognized when it comes to surveys on the quality of elections. They do a lot of research. They know almost all countries of the world, they know the quality of their elections. And in their 2024 report, they placed Ghana in Africa as number 5, and they gave us 70%, 70 out of 100. And when you look at the 4 countries that are ahead of Ghana, the first one is Cape Verde. Cape Verde has a population of, I think it's less than 600,000. After Cape Verde, then you have Lesotho. Lesotho is also a very small country, maybe about 2.3, 2.5 million. Then after Lesotho, you have the Gambia. The Gambia is also, you know, is one of the smallest countries even in West Africa. Then after Gambia, you have, is it Namibia? No, after Gambia is South Africa. You know, South Africa is one of the African superpowers. So South Africa is number 4 with almost 72%. And Ghana is number 5. We tie with Namibia. So when you look at the indicators they use, the processes they go through to be able to arrive at those conclusions, it's clearly an indication that Ghana is one of the best when it comes to the business.
In the land of the blind, they say the one-eyed man is king. You're comparing yourself to South Africa, where one party, you can predict the outcome from the start. There's no contest there. And the rest of the other countries you mentioned are all very tiny countries.
Very tiny.
But in Gambia's case, you can't even determine whether they are a country by itself or they are within a country.
They are within a country.
You know, so those are not paradigmatic of democracies you want to compare yourself to.
So that means clearly that means you are trying to conclude that we are the best in Africa.
But you're the best only because the guys who are playing with you.
Those are the guys who the researchers are saying that they are the best in Africa.
Yes.
And among the world too, when you look at Ghana's ranking,
you're comparing yourself on the world stage, then you're challenging yourself.
No, even on the world stage, when you look at it, I can share those data with you. Even on the world stage, we are doing 70%. And the countries that are ahead of us, some few countries in Western Europe. And when you look at the data, the score for the US, it's almost the same as Ghana. That's why it's an indication that when you talk about Ghana in terms of the quality of elections, we are up there. And this is it's a readily available information, which I will make it available for you to see that. And they've done the ranking based on region, continent, Africa, Asia, and all of them. They've given specific marks. And when you put together, Ghana is still up there.
This year's elections, I mean, last 4 years, you believe that you scored high marks again. The EU Special Observer Mission indeed scored you highly. But even you can stand still in terms of improving what you do. What's going to be different this year? How are you bettering what you're going to do this year compared to what you did in 2020? What will change?
One of the things we've done this year has to do with, number one, I will say that we've doubled down on all the good measures we adopted in 2020, especially in terms of our public education. This year, we've been able to educate more Ghanaians. We've done a lot of activities. We've rolled out a lot of public education videos on our activities to the extent that many people have come to appreciate what we do. Even one of the key things has to do with IPAC for the first time has been nationally televised. So ordinary Ghanaians have gotten to know what actually takes place when we beat us. Political parties, Electoral Commission, civil society and development partners. And because of that, I believe that the goodwill of the EC has gone very, very far. And this year, another thing we've also done has to do with appointment of collation officers. What the commission has done basically is that at each constituency, we've employed individuals with a good background in statistics, mathematics, to support the collation at the constituency level.
So this will be the Constituency Collation Center?
Constituency Collation Center. So at each Constituency Collation Center, there is going to be a collation officer. The job of that person is to assist the returning officers. That's the returning officer and the 2 deputies. And this has also been replicated at the regional level. You know, we always say elections are won at the polling station. What the commission is saying is that let's make sure that the polling station results we are going to put together at the collation center. We have individuals there who are going to ensure the integrity of the calculation. So apart from the returning officer and the deputies who are going to be at the constituency collation centers, we are also going to have these collation officers at all the 276 constituency collation centers.
And their job is to do what exactly?
Their job is to use the Excel.
Because the roles of all the other EC officers there have been prescribed in law.
In law.
But the collation officer, I doubt if that is written in any CI.
You know, the CI, unfortunately, I can't mention the particular regulation, but the CI gives the EC the discretion to appoint a certain number of people to assist the returning officer, which in CI 127, it makes it very clear that the EC can appoint people to assist the returning officer. So the EC can decide that instead of only 2 deputy returning officers, we are going to appoint about 5, depending on the size of a constituency. So this is something which is protected by law.
And let's clearly delineate the role of this collation officer. What is he doing there? How is it different from the returning officer and the other?
The returning officer is the one supposed to announce the presidential results at the constituency level and also declare.
Announce the presidential and declare the parliamentary.
Clearly, the returning officer is the one who has been appointed by the commission, the chairperson of the commission, to conduct the parliamentary election and announce the results of the presidential election. So the returning officer will declare the results of the parliamentary election and will also announce the results of the presidential election. But the returning officer is assisted by other persons, and all of them work under the supervision of the district officer, who is the supervisor of the entire presidential parliamentary elections in each constituency. So this collation officer is supposed to assist the returning officer to do his or her work.
As the name implies, in help in collation.
Only collation. So unlike the returning officers and the deputies who will be working intensively, maybe 2 or 3 days, they are in charge of distribution of ballot papers, retrieving of ballot papers. They are mainly in charge of all that. This collation officer's job is to come in during the collation. So he will not be entangled in the day's activities. His or her job mainly is collation. So he will not be going to the polling station to distribute ballot papers, to check and be sure that the elections are being, people are voting, the queues are being in the right order. That's not the job of the collation. His is mainly, or hers is mainly collation. And
what would be the role of the regional collation centers?
At the regional level, you know, per CI 127, Regulation 38. Regulation 38 empowers the commission to appoint someone, specifically a regional director or a deputy regional director, as the regional collation officer. So this collation officer at the regional level is supposed to assist the regional collation officers. So at each region, as a collation officer, you are supposed to assist the regional collation officer. So we take Greater Accra region, the regional collation officer will be the EC's regional director. So as a collation officer, your job is to assist her to be able to do her work very, very well. And you know, per the CI, all constituency presidential results will be taken to the regional collation centers for the regional collation officer to put them together to give us a composite result.
There will be no announcement or declaration.
No, there will be an announcement. As for announcement, you can easily do it. But when you announce, the declaration is the terminal point. So that's why the returning officer at the constituency level will declare the parliamentary results. Because the terminal point of the parliamentary results is the constituency level. But at the constituency level, the same returning officer will only announce
the presidential.
And we know when it is announced, it doesn't imply that someone has won.
And at the regional collation level,
the regional collation officer will also announce the presidential results. And once he or she announces the presidential results, the results will now be sent to the National Collation Center, where the chairperson of the Electoral Commission is the returning officer of the presidential election. So the chairperson of the Electoral Commission is going to receive 16 composite results for each of the candidates from the 16 regions, each of the candidates. So for each candidate, all your 16 regional results will be put together to give you your national totals. So when this process is concluded, then the chairperson will now declare. So that's why we do have the media. You do call the elections, you do announce the election, but you don't declare.
No, declare.
By law, only the chairperson of the Electoral Commission declares the results.
Considering all the processes you're putting in place now to make it more efficient, how quickly do you estimate you'll be able to declare the results after voting ends?
I think from the commission, what we are going to do is that we are going to take our time. We are going to ensure that we get the results in time. And anytime we are fully convinced that we've gotten what is enough for us to be able to declare the results, we are going to do that. But as much as possible, the commission is going to wait patiently on all the regions to put their all their constituency results together. As soon as they send them to the head office, where the chairperson is in charge of the nation, the chairperson will go ahead and declare. But
surely you must have a certain target, a certain time frame you hope to work within.
By convention, we work within 72 hours. And I believe we are going to work within the 72 hours and ensure that Ghanaians know the outcome of the presidential election. We shouldn't forget that for the parliamentary, maybe in some of the constituencies, as early as 12 midnight, it's very likely that they are going to know the outcome. Some maybe 1 a.m., 2 a.m. And you know, when they conclude that process, it's after that, then all those presidential results in those constituencies will now be sent to the regions. And we shouldn't forget that some of them to the regional capital can take some time. And when it gets to the region must also ensure they take their time to go through all the results and be sure that everything is excellent. And we shouldn't forget that parties are also going to be represented at all these levels to ensure transparency, to ensure the credibility of the process. So as I said, within the 72 hours, we'll do our very best.
So that's within 3 days?
Within 3 days.
After the
close of poll.
After close
the
of poll.
The poll ends at 5 p.m.
on December 7th.
So the next 72 hours after the close of poll.
It could be earlier?
No, it could be. That's why I said we will work within. No, in 2020, we did it within almost about, is it 48
in
or 46
fact, the target
hours?
You set yourself in 2020 was to do it in 24
hours. But we ended up doing it in almost about 48 hours. Yeah.
This time, give yourself a bit more latitude.
We are working within the 72 hours, and we'll do our very best to ensure that we follow convention.
Why are you not sticking with the 24 hours? Is it because of a lesson that you learned from 2020?
Oh, the commission has taken the decision that if we are given by convention, we have 72 hours, let's operate within it. If we can get everything in less than 24 hours, why not? If we can get it in about 36 hours, we'll go ahead and do it. But we'll try as much as possible that within the 72 hours, we are going to do the needful.
Do you know how many ballots you'll be burning from this Ahafo and Volta region issue?
I need to check the numbers. But I know the Volta region has a total population in terms of registered voters, a little over 1 million. And Ahafo is also doing a little over 300,000. And you know, we also added some 2 percentage points. So that of Volta region will probably be maybe between 1 million and 1.1. And Ahafo will still be within 300,000 to 400,000. So on the whole, you'll be looking at almost about 1.5, a maximum of 1.5 million ballots.
Okay.
And we shouldn't forget both the presidential and the parliamentary. So you have to multiply by 2.
You told me earlier you're going to be writing to the parties to be present to
for the distraction of the ballots. We are going to do that.
That invitation has not gone out yet.
That I need to check with our operations team, but it's something we can't do without the parties.
Have you set a date for the burning?
I need to cross check again, but it's something we should do with this week.
Okay.
It can even happen tomorrow.
Provided that they've been informed.
The parties are already on the ground. They are the printing houses, so you can just reach out to them in 1 hour and they'll make their teams available. No, lately we've been having meetings with the parties. At times the notice will just be about 1 hour, but they will assemble because of the exigency of the time.
Let's talk about Boko. Registration in Boko suffered because of the conflict. So chances are there are people in Boko who have turned 18 or have been registered who didn't register at all, because of the issues there. How are you approaching Boko ahead of the same assembly?
I think Boko, we had some challenges with the registration in 2023. Yeah. But in 2024, during the registration, the place was generally very, very peaceful. We didn't hear of any skirmishes. So in terms of the registration this year, they registered. But that of last year, I think we did it for about 2 or 3 days over there. And as you pointed out, we are not excited about what is happening over there, but we expect that by the time of the elections, the powers that be will be able to engage the people of Boku for them to understand the importance of the elections. We believe that things will be done in such a way that the people there can also choose their member of parliament. And when you talk about Boku, I think almost about 4 or 5 constituencies are involved, even including Pusiga and other places. So Boku West, Boku Central, all of them are included. So we do expect that the government, even all the political parties, will be working together to ensure that peace prevails. Because without that, we can't send our men there to go and work, our men and women who are going to be working as polling officials.
In the last month alone, at least 20 people have been killed. In fact, last week, 3 more people died because the conflict is so raging. And unfortunately, as we approach elections, the tensions have gone up again, and it's escalated. More people are dying now. You must have intelligence briefing on some of the, on not only Boku, but other areas, but Boku in particular. What briefings are you getting in terms of the preparations to send
the commission is still engaging with the security agencies. We haven't concluded on what we are going to do. We still have some few days, as you rightly pointed out. The special voting is about 13 days away, and the December 7th election is also about 18 days away. We are still working with them. Once we get the feedback that no, it will not be appropriate for you to go on with the elections there, the commission will act in that manner to ensure peace prevails. So the commission will do the needful. We'll continue to engage with the security agencies. Whatever advice they give us, we are not experts when it comes to security. We are only experts when it comes to conducting credible, peaceful elections. Once there is any advice that will be counterintuitive to what we are trying to do, the commission will listen to it and will certainly work with it.
I mean, but there's a potential, and for those who are listening in Boku, that if this doesn't end, not even end, but tensions dial down, there's a potential that the Electoral Commission, based on advice, may decide not to set up polling stations in the affected areas.
Oh, no, certainly. This is, as I said, the commission will look at it. If the commission receives briefing to the effect that you cannot, the safety of your officers cannot be guaranteed, I even think that it will be very difficult to get people to want to go and work there. And don't forget that most
already,
of the
as you do training, you're training to deploy. Are the people you're planning to deploy, are they complaining to you?
No, so far, that's why I said nothing contrary has come to us. We are just about starting the training at the regional level, and I need to check. Some of the regions even started today, and we've never heard anything to the effect that there's a problem in a particular region or in another region. We've not had that. And we believe that everything will be done very, very successfully. But in the event we receive any contrary information backed by strong evidence that on the basis of A, B, C, and D, it will not be appropriate to do that. In 2020, when we were registering and we had the feedback that it will not be appropriate to continue with the registration, the commission had to discontinue after having done it for about 2 or 3 days.
Is Boku your only hotspot?
In terms of hotspots, I know there are many hotspots, but you know, the hotspots, they keep changing. But you know, the Boku issue happens to be so unique because it's not like the typical election hotspot where people come to the polling stations to misbehave. This is a whole community, a whole town, big town, a very big commercial center being involved, and it's not a minor skirmish, it's a major one. So I think for now, in terms of a hotspot on that particular scale, I think we'll go in for Boku.
Okay, so that's Dr. Bossman Asare there talking to me about the preparations towards the elections. You want to stay with us? I'm going to take a quick break. When I return, we'll talk a bit more about the arrangements that they are putting in place for us to have the Guan constituency. It's a very important subject for a lot of people who live in the affected areas, and we'll get his clarity on that. But also, there's a push by some of the political parties for Ekweadonko's picture and position to be omitted completely, and fresh ballots printed on the ballot paper following her demise recently. What's the EC's position on the matter? They've already clarify that we are going to have, for the very first time, 13 people on the ballot, but 1 deceased. First time we're going to have that. We're going to pick his thoughts on the push by the LPG political party for that to be omitted. Stay with me. And thanks for staying with us. This is PM Express. My guest is the Deputy Commissioner here at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Bossman Asare. Doc, thanks for staying with us and agreeing to talk to us. And let's talk about the Guan constituency. In 2023, you laid a CI, and from what I read, you subsequently went in and requested to withdraw, because at the time, you were going to have the district level elections and you wanted to make sure that you can create it in time. What's the update on that?
The Guan constituency was created in 2023.
Okay.
So as we speak now, we have a Guan constituency and we have the Guan district as well. We have a district officer in Guan. So the Guan, they have candidates for the elections.
Yes.
For the parliamentary elections.
So notice of poll have been published?
Notice of poll, all of them has been printed specifically for Guan. I don't know the number of people contesting, but what I do know is that there's a candidate for the MPP. There's also a candidate for the NDC.
Yeah. So first time 276 constituencies and all set up to go. And I know the people that felt disenfranchised the last elections. And your men on the ground, what feedback are they giving you now that this has been resolved?
The people are very, very excited, and we've been hearing people trying to accuse the EC of disenfranchising the people of Guan, and I think those people don't know what actually transpired. You mentioned that in 2020, the Guan district was created. The LI that created the Guan district, when it got to the attention of the commission, Parliament had even gone on recess. And to lay a CI to create a constituency, the CI must be laid in Parliament for 21 working days. The LI that created the Guan district, I think it passed Parliament somewhere November 7th or November 9th. And a letter was written to the EC that the Guan district had been created and EC should take steps to create the Guan constituency. At the time we got the letter, Parliament had even gone on recess. So people who don't understand, they turn around and say, oh, the EC has disenfranchised the people of Guan. That is never true, and that is never supported by any evidence. So the EC didn't disenfranchise the people of Guan.
But it's a fact, is it not, that the people who lived there could not vote for a parliamentary candidate?
No, that's why, once their district was created, before the Guan constituency, the Guan district was part of the Hohoi.
Yeah.
And Hohoi Guan had now become part of Uti, and Hohoi in the voter region. So if they were voting in the parliamentary, who were they voting for?
Yes, so that's where the disenfranchisement
came in. So that didn't come from the Electoral Commission. Maybe they should have engaged Parliament. Why did you pass an LI creating the Guan district when you knew very well that it will not give the Electoral Commission enough time to prepare and lay a new CI, which should take 21 sitting days in Parliament? And don't forget, Mr. Mensah, the LI passed Parliament around November 9th. And the EC got the letter around November 12th or November 14th. When we received the letter, Parliament had gone on recess. And elections was on December 7th. So it wasn't possible for the EC to create that particular constituency before the 2020 elections.
Talking about that, I wanted to understand how eager people in Guan constituency are to vote, and you want to measure that by how many people who are queued to register to vote this year. But to know that, I need to then understand the breakdown of the total number of registered voters across the country. We still don't have that breakdown, which we become accustomed to by tradition.
We've given to the parties, so we thought that the parties will, but it's something the commission will look at it, and it's very, very important because it helps you to know the voter.
Absolutely. And in previous elections, the EC has been gracious enough to give it that.
The commission will certainly look at
at a regional level, constituency level, you can appreciate.
At the polling station level.
Exactly. So
and even before you go, exactly. With that of 2020.
Exactly.
And you do well at that.
Exactly. in fact, in 2020, something very unique happened when the results came and the voter turnout was the first to alert us that something in terms of the calculation was off. Yeah. But if we didn't have the total registered voters, it would be difficult to sort of do that calculation.
Yes,
so it's in all our interests.
Oh yeah. It's important.
We sort of help each other in terms of the checks and balances.
And you help us a lot in this work.
And I tell you, I was with Sirbo Kwaku in Kenya in 2022 when they were doing elections. And one of the things that they were doing there, through civil society, was their electoral commission was actively trying to get the media there to help do their parallel voter tabulation, if you will, of sort. Because the EC felt they needed another layer. So that if by the end of the collation, the EC's result, which is the constitutionally mandated body to do it, tallies with
that of the media or the...
No political party can come and say...
And you have been playing that role for us. Or maybe we haven't mentioned it officially. And you have been doing that.
And I was then, I'm like, that makes sense because... And they were actively, the EC was actively empowering the media, trying to equip them to do it. Because obviously of their recent history. They come out of a very, very difficult, violent elections. Because once you dispute the EC's elections results, which you shouldn't, by the way, but once you do, there's no other check to say, how do you compare? Parties have their own, but they have interest.
So they can skew it.
Exactly.
But the media usually very, very objective. Not all of you do, but mostly.
For election, I mean, but that is why for us, this collaboration is
important. It's very important. And you support a lot in that regard. Because I remember in 2020, we noticed that what we were churning out almost similar, if not exactly the same as what most of the media houses were doing. So it made our work pretty much easy.
Absolutely. So we'll look forward to that,
certainly,
data.
Certainly, the commission will look at it.
Let's talk about Kwiadonko. First time in our electoral history, at least in the Fourth Republic, that we are going to go to the polls with a deceased candidate on the ballot. That will pose challenges for people because if you vote for Kwiadonko, that is a vote.
It's going to be annulled. It will not be counted.
It's rejected or be rejected. That can create problems.
Yeah, I think, as you rightly pointed out, the framers of our constitution, I believe, did not anticipate that we'll get to a point where a presidential candidate will die after filing the nomination. So when this happened, it was, and when you look at the constitution very well, you realize that the constitution is very, very, not even silent. It doesn't really mention it, that a presidential candidate will die and it will require certain steps. But what we saw in both the CI and the constitution had to do with the fact that it was more about a parliamentary candidate. And when something like that should happen, that candidate or that party should be given, the party should be given about 10 days for a replacement. And I think in the constitution, Article 40, Clause 4 is very, very clear on that. So the commission decided that if, although it's not very clear in the constitution, we will still be able to apply this. So we wrote to the GFP that on the basis of this, we are just letting you know that we are giving you 10 days. And we quoted Article 44 to them. And lo and behold, the party also brought somebody to replace Madame Kwiadonko. And when we went through the process, the person didn't meet the qualifications. Then we met the parties and informed them that this is the situation. And we shouldn't forget that when Madame Kwiadonko passed, about 90% of the presidential ballots had been printed. And they were there. They had been printed. A number of them had been checked. But we told the printing houses to pause. So we explained to the parties that the law is not very, very clear on it. But what we know in the CI has to do with the issue that in the event someone who is a candidate for elections decides not to run again, and the ballots have been printed, the person's name will still be on the ballot for the elections, although people will be told not to vote for that person. And that one is clearly stated in one of the CI. So we explained to the parties that because of time, having printed about 90%, if the commission had to go back and still print again, are we going to do another balloting? What are we going to be doing again? So the commission explained to the parties that under the circumstances, we believe that we can continue with the ballots we have printed. Let all of us work together to educate the good people of this country that although there are 13 people on the ballot, only 12 of them are contesting. The candidate, the third candidate is not part of those who are contesting.
But I haven't seen any public announcements on this.
No, I think we've been doing the education, and we have our teams in the various regions who are doing it on radio stations, and
The ones I'm seeing on television is just a general.
The general one, which we will escalate it.
On this.
Yes, we will do that.
Because of, we live in a country where we see a lot of rejected ballots. Sometimes the rejected ballots are more than the actual votes for some of the candidates.
Oh no, I think don't say sometimes, most of the time, or maybe all the time.
All the time.
In 2020, rejected ballots had more votes if it was than all the other candidates, apart from the MPP and the NDC, which is not good.
Absolutely, and that is why this Ekweadonko one then becomes an issue.
But I don't think we should rule it out that people didn't understand. That's why they voted that way. There are several reasons why people may choose
deliberately.
So I believe that people may do that. I know in Latin America they do that as a protest. So you may have some people who may probably vote for Madam Ekweadonko, not because they didn't know, but probably they want to send a certain message that they don't like any of the 12 candidates.
But bottom line, if you do vote for Ekweadonko, that is a rejected ballot.
Rejected. So we want to encourage everyone that if you want to demonstrate your love towards Madam Ekweadonko, this is not the time, not on December 2nd, neither is it on December 7th. There are 12 candidates. Candidate number 1 to number 12, just choose one of them.
December 2nd is for special voting. And I noticed that you have the 131,000 registered voters for special voting. That's a small number. That should be a cakewalk for you.
It is. But in terms of the numbers, this is the highest number we've gotten in special voting.
I see.
In 2020, we did a little over 100,000. And this time we are doing over 130,000. And we are hoping that all of them will show up to come and vote.
Where would the voting centers be?
Each constituency has a specific place. Some of them are voting, a number of them it may be near a police station, the district police station, some of them to some community centers, etc. So we don't have specific centers, but we have all the GPS addresses for all the various voting
Your
centers.
name on the special voters list.
Yes.
To be considered.
So if your name is not there, you can't go there to go and vote. And if your name is there, and on that day you don't go and vote, on December 7th you will not be able to vote.
That's a very important clarity.
So if your name is on the special voters list, you have to be there to vote. If your name is there and you don't go and vote on December 2nd, on December 7th your name will not be there.
I mean, with 18 days ago before the elections, how would you describe your relationship with the opposition NDC now?
Well, I think that we have a very good, excellent working relationship with all the political parties.
But the tensions that we've seen over the last
the last time we had a meeting with the parties, you heard one of the parties saying that the EC is in bed with the NDC.
Now we're hearing that, That's what I'm asking. What has changed? What has changed between 3 months ago when that attack was real? There was always a banter between the clash of a sword, the NDCs, and now when things appear from where we sit to be toying, what's the difference? What has changed?
I think the commission, nothing has changed from our standpoint. We've always been very proactive. We've always been speaking truth to the reality on the ground. We've always been opening up. And I believe since we started opening up the IPAC meeting too, that has also boded a lot for us. And I know many people have come to understand. And I believe
you are being more transparent now.
I think we've always been, but by televising the IPAC, ordinary people have now appreciated what actually has been transparent at our IPAC meetings.
I have noticed.
And apart from that, all the parties, the issues they have, we've always been responding. If you say something which in the scheme of the we know it's not right, we are going to respond.
That's my point. That I've also noticed how proactive you've become.
Yes, and it's
in putting out statements even before we get to know about it. You are publishing it.
Yes,
that is greater transparency.
Yes.
That has changed.
Oh no, we've always been doing that.
I know you want to say that, but the EC that I've known and the EC I'm seeing now,
no, that may be
I see a difference.
That may be your adroit interpretation of what has been happening. But I think we've always been doing that. We've always been very proactive. But getting to the election, you expect us that we should be more aggressive, more on top of things.
So how would you now characterize the relationship with the NDC?
That's why I said we have an excellent working relationship with all the political parties.
But with the NDC?
With the NDC, we are working very well. If there is anything which is not clear, if the NDC reaches out to us, and regularly they do reach out. For example, what we do here, you've sent the ballots here, this is what we are picking. We reach out to be sure that indeed what they are saying is true. And you know the parties always want to get to town with misinformation. And at times the things they go out with, we investigate and it's not the reality. And I think it's good for our democracy that once all the parties have confidence in the process, and that is the concern of the EC. You may not like the persons who are running the show, but just look at the work they are doing. The reality is that an excellent work is being done, and this is something which is being applauded by both the domestic and the international environment. You go to many countries, the level of transparency you see here, the level of inclusivity, participation from all the parties. Look at the printing is ongoing. Even when you are destroying ballots, the parties are there. And I think the commission has also done a good job of escalating this. Maybe greater transparency for all the people to know what actually transpires. And not recently, we took the media houses to our printing houses. And they saw that if somebody should tell you that the EC can do A, B, C, and D, it's not true.
But yet still, whilst you do all that, you still have within your ranks an individual who was appointed recently who used to be a party activist.
I don't know who you are trying
I'm
to...
talking about the appointment that was done in the civil society, actually even condemned.
No, the EC commissioners are like board members. And per law, we meet twice. We meet once every 2 months. And when you are a member, you know, I don't join multimedia, you may have your board. I don't know how often the board members come to the office. So when somebody stands somewhere and say, oh, because this person is here, and you know, when people make those accusations, we at the EC, we don't appoint. So you can direct that towards the appointing authority. Regardless of that, if you are a member of the EC board, there is nothing you can do. Even those of us who are in charge of day-to-day running, led by the chairperson, Mrs. Jean Mensah, Mr. Samuel Tete, myself, our directors, even when it comes to elections, there is nothing we can do. You have been following this process for many, many years. You look at the process, if even you are a flag bearer of one of the main parties, let's make you the chairperson of the EC or one of the commission, there is nothing you can do. Because the election takes place at the polling station. And at the polling station, all the parties have their agents there, including observers and the citizens. When we finish, counting is done in the full glare of the public. At times, some of the media organizations, you select some polling stations where, and when we finish, the pink sheet will be filled and the copy will be pasted at that particular polling station. And all the results from all these polling stations are what we use to declare the winner of the parliamentary election in each parliamentary constituency. We put the national results together, then we use that to declare the presidential. So if even you are, let's put the MPP flag bearer, the NDC flag bearer, let's make them the chairperson, co-chairpersons of the Electoral Commission. There is nothing you can do.
But it creates perception issues for you.
No, that's what the reality on the ground is that the
credibility of the polls must not only be seen to have been done, it must actually be done.
And it's the reason why we are painting the picture that look at the work.
Is important. The work is important. That's the evidence of your work, but also that perception.
No, I think, as you rightly, perception is very, very much important as reality. But on this, let's look at the work that is being done as far as the EC is concerned. And once you look at it, you realize that, you know, didn't we have a by-election in Kumewu? Mm-hmm. We had a by-election in the Jiso. I think that's the latest one. Then we had one in Asinov.
Yeah.
You look at the process, how the organization of each of these elections was that you realize there was nothing the EC would be able to do. Once the people decide they are voting for someone, and the objective of the EC as far as going into every major election is that we want the will of the people to be reflected. And the will of the people will be reflected at the polling station. It will be escalated to the constituency level where the parliamentary will be truncated over there. Then from there, it's again escalated to the national level. And I know some of the media houses, you have all your networks, and you can look at it critically and come to the conclusion that, no, regardless of what people are saying, you realize that these elections, nobody, we sit in Accra, and at times we even pick the information from you. We pick it, we monitor what you are doing, and then you give us even a picture of how the election, the results are panning out. And that's what we do. We don't have any special insight. And I think that at times people arrogate so much powers to us. At times, some people even think we are special human beings. We are just like ordinary people. We don't have any special powers. We rely on what takes place at the polling station.
And just before we wrap up, the missing DVDs, what update do you have from the police?
I need to cross-check with our team. We have our lawyers who are working with the police. But you know, again, we've made it very clear that...
But they have not been found.
They've not been found. Those, they have no bearing. And I believe all the parties understand. The BVDs we are going to use in my constituency, like the Kotopon, we prepare it for that particular constituency. So if you have not been prepared, and when even we are prepared, we activate it for polling station A, polling station B. So if you have our BVD, there is nothing you can do with it. It's just an ordinary, you know, when you go to the point of, you are going to buy from the stores, they also have some of this device, a point of
If
sale.
it's still missing, somebody definitely has it somewhere in this country. That must still worry you.
No, for us, we are not happy that something like that is still, someone may be having it, but the assurance we have is that it cannot be used in any way for the elections. And you know, the BVD's role is to ensure that everyone votes once, to identify that you are the one you claim you are, and when you vote, you can't come again. That's the essence of the BVD. And it must be connected to our system, and it must be activated for a particular constituency. So the BVD for Winneba, a Futu constituency, will not work in Kaswa. It will not work in Accra.
As far as the media is concerned, though, just before we wrap up, where will we used to call it the strong room, and I know EC tried to stop using that term because its strong room creates this perception of a room where people sit to decide the outcome of the elections. You changed the name to National Collation Center.
National Collation Center.
Yeah.
But you know the fear,
you demystified it the last time.
Surrounding the strong has been demystified because of the regional collation.
Yeah.
So literally we have decentralized the collation to the regional level.
Where will your National Collation Center be?
The commission is still working on it, and we will make it very, very public.
But it won't be here at your headquarters?
No, we've not concluded on it,
yet.
but it will likely not be here.
But media will have access,
Yeah,
unfettered access like the last time?
Media will unimpeded, unfettered access to the place so that you give regular updates. And we are going to be working. And we know the media, you've always been standing with us.
Yes.
And we're also going to be doing that.
Okay, great, fantastic. So that's Dr. Bossman Asare there talking to me about the plans for the elections, and he's giving you assurance that you can trust that it's going to be transparent, and they are ready. Even if the elections is next week, they believe they can come back.
Let me conclude by saying that in 2020, we had 79% of our people taking part in the general election. We are appealing to them that they should come out in their numbers to come and vote.
You're talking about voter turnout? Voter
turnout. And we have over 18,700,000 registered voters. We want to do more than the 79%.
Okay.
So we are encouraging each and every one.
We want to do more than 79%.
So if we can do about 85.
85%.
That's my personal goal.
Okay, 85%
if we can do about 85. And in 2020, some of the regions did, some regions did 86, 83%. It was the national figure, which was 79. So we want to encourage everyone who is a registered voter, if you are voting on December 2nd, just go out there and exercise the franchise. If you are voting on December 7th, just go out there and go and vote.
Okay. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's always a pleasure.